Hi, my name is Quilzs, and I am the creator of Astor and the Dead God, and this is how I made my webcomic. When I was first starting my webcomic, I was in college, and I honestly kind of just wanted to do something that wasn't for school. I feel the same way when, like, a class makes you read a book for a grade instead of for fun, and I feel like I just really wanted to do something for fun, especially when you go into, like, a creative degree like animation. You feel like every art you make has to be for a project, and that was eating me alive, so I wanted to make something for fun. And at that time, I was really getting into like webtoon and to pass, and I feel like it'd be really fun to make one, especially because I've been really inspired by these webcomics, and I feel like that'd be really cool to make my own. And so I had a seed planted, if I want to say that. When it comes to story, I obviously have been really inspired by a lot of these other stories, obviously Avatar being the biggest because it's Avatar. And I also read this one on Itch.io, and I've also been inspired by these two animes at the time, so I feel like combining some of all of their ideas would be really fun. I ended up with having a story of a god who isn't dead. I don't know where I got that prompt from. I feel like I read it from somewhere, but I lost it and I couldn't find it anymore. So I remember seeing a post or a Tumblr thing or whatever about a false god, and I feel like that is the start of mine. So I don't know about other people, but when I start stories, I usually start with a dynamic. I know a lot of people start with like a prompt or a setting or a dialogue, but I usually like to start with two characters because I feel like as a writer, I could get more out of two characters than I ever could from like one setting or one like linear prompt. So I started with my two characters, one obviously being Siren, the like quote-unquote dead god, and Astor being the hero that is trying to fix and put the world back together. And there we go, those are two boys. I remember when I was starting my webcomic, I put so much pressure on myself to want to make the first pages look perfect. Like I could show you the old sketches. Like I was super meticulous about wanting the first pages to be perfect. I remember inking the first couple of pages, and it took me like a whole week straight to get all of that together because I felt like this is the peak of my art style. This is what the comic had to look like throughout the whole thing now. And that is so wrong. I don't know what other comics or mangas you've read, but you can definitely tell that the art style changes over time and develops over time. And I don't know why I thought I couldn't do that too, but just remember that when you make a project, especially a long-term project like a webcomic, it will get better over time. So just upload what you have right now. It will get better, I promise. I feel like as an artist, I've definitely gotten better. I'm really proud of looking back at my old pages and looking at my new pages, but I also know that I am not the strongest writer yet, and I am taking some like online courses for that. Actually, if you have any that you could recommend in the comments, you could do that right now. I just feel like one of my biggest flaws in my webcomic is my weak writing, and maybe that could get better too. When it came to the art style, I knew that I didn't want it to be in color because, God, I am a weak little bitch when it comes to color schemes. They are the death of me. I'm good at a lot of things, I will admit. I like line art, I like composition, I like paneling, especially like page layouts, which we can get into later. But color schemes can kill me, and I'd let them because, God, it's super hard for me. So that's kind of why I wanted to keep it monochrome. I am trying really hard though to keep like strong values and such so that you're able to see a really good difference between characters and the background. But yeah, no, colors is not it for me. It's something I am getting better at, and I do want to learn how to properly do, especially because I went to art school and I feel like I should know something about that, but I avoided it for as long as I could, and I'm still avoiding it to this day. But we'll get there. We'll get better, I hope. I mentioned earlier about page layouts, but I also recommend if you do want to start your own webcomic to experiment with different page layouts, because there is mostly two now. It is either like streamlined pages where you go like top down, kind of like a scrollable like webtoon style. I personally like page layouts because I feel like as an artist it is more interesting to have a page layout and like direct eye flow myself instead of relying on like the reader to scroll through it themselves. I really like being in charge of pages, and I also just like how they look pleasingly, especially when you put them in like a spread together. I feel like that's super nice to look at, and I just want to keep that for myself, so I'm doing it with this webcomic. I have experimented before with my dead webcomic, and I'm calling it dead because I low-key forgot the password to my webtoon account and now I can't upload it anymore, but it's still there if you want to see me experimenting. One of my biggest things that I struggled with when making my webcomic was I tried to, you know, procrastinate and do it all at once. And I really don't recommend you doing that. I am such a hypocrite, by the way. I'm procrastinating right now making and recording this audio instead of actually working on my webcomic. But God, I highly recommend you, like, get ahead of yourself. I started breaking it up day by day now instead of just doing it all at once. So I would draft for one day, ink for the next day, and then color and export for the next day, so that I had a good 1 to 2 hours a day working on my webcomics so that I was able to upload at least once a week. This way I didn't have to schedule off like 6 hours of a whole day just to work on my webcomic, which can really add up if you have other stuff in your life that you're doing. But yeah, no, I really recommend doing it habitually, especially because it could also help keep your art style consistent. I'm gonna show you right now on screen 2 pages that are like right beside each other, but because I took such a long break between them, they look so different, and I highly recommend you to not do that. Sometimes you will have vacations and stuff, and I get that, but just like doodling and like keeping it habitual, like drawing at least like once a day is able to help you build that muscle memory, so you're able to draw your characters super fast and like remember the layout and everything, and it will keep the whole thing streamlined. Just don't do what I'm doing is basically this whole vibe of the video, by the way. I'm trying to think of other mistakes I made. I don't think you need to have everything figured out before you start your story. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have that pressure, especially amongst like artists nowadays, to have everything ready and perfect from the get-go. But I feel like it's kind of fun to get to know your story over time, and also to like help the audience get to know the story over time, building it together and hearing feedback and learning what works for you, and then developing your story from that, I feel like is the best way to keep the story going. It could also be really fun if you get your readers like into the story and interactive with it, whether they can vote on stuff or like recommend you things, or to be like, hey, I really like this character, and then you're just like, oh, okay, here's more of them showing up. I don't know, I feel like in this day and age, especially when it comes to like YouTube or webcomics, I find it really fascinating that a lot of the audience had the ability to like interact and comment and like suggest things for the author, which I find really cool. I know a lot of authors like sometimes don't want to hear anything and they do have the story, but to people like me who don't have everything figured out yet, it's kind of nice when you have your audience help you out when you're like stuck in a rut or something, and I recommend you doing that if you feel like you're lost too, which is fair. I think we're all lost in here, okay? Art is hard. I learned a lot from making this webcomic. Not even just about the art. Okay, this is gonna get super weird. I learned about myself, okay? I learned what works for me, what doesn't work for me. I learned what I want to keep doing. I learned what I don't want to do. I learned which programs I love to death and which programs could like kill me in the back alley and I would like haunt for the rest of my life. I don't know. Sometimes when it comes to long-term projects, I feel like it's more draining because it's super long-term and you don't see the end goal yet, and you're just doing all this work and all this pressure just so that you can hope the end goal looks good and you don't even see it yet, which can be super daunting, I know. But it also helps to have your community and audience around to help you like feel pumped up and hyped up, and to just be able to hype yourself up sometimes. I have been definitely stuck in there sometimes. Sometimes you see like large gaps between my uploading schedule. That's because I'm having one of these things right now. I'm kind of having it right now actually, which is I think why I'm making this video. But just know that as long as you make art and as long as you want to express yourself, there will always be an audience and someone wanting to look at it and someone wanting to appreciate it. And even if it's not you, even if you don't see them yet, even if you haven't met them yet, even if it seems like there's never going to be an audience for it, there is. There always will be. Oh god, I feel like I'm gonna start crying. No, this is supposed to be a fun video. Yeah, no, I really do love my webcomic. I've loved how much it taught me, even though it's not even a real thing, but it is. I loved all of the weird opportunities that came with it. I have been being able to create it into a dub on YouTube, which you could watch, by the way. I will link it in the description if you guys want to watch my comic dubbed. The voice actors do amazing, and I love the editing. You guys can watch it all here. And it's just so crazy how I didn't think any of this could go anywhere. And it all started from like a really stupid doodle and like a couple of ideas, and now it is like 150 pages later, and I am so proud of myself, and I feel like a lot of people need to feel this too. So if you do want to start a webcomic, this is your sign. It is me. I'm here. God, I realize this is like not even a fun little idea. This is like two projects I've wanted to start and get over with and talk about and express for the longest time, and now I'm finally doing it. I didn't think I was gonna cry while recording this, but I think I will, honestly. Also, I didn't realize how fascinating the speed paints are. Sometimes when I look on YouTube and I'll just like watch the speed paint while I'm making art, so it looks like I'm doing art with a friend, even though these people do not know who I am. But I'm like editing this right now and I'm looking at my own speed paint and I'm like, damn, I'm one of the cool guys now. So that's cool. Okay, this video is super dragging on, okay? I feel like I'm gonna stop. You guys have a great day. I'll think of another video, hopefully for next time, when I don't start crying when doing recording. Bye, have a great day.